Marcus stood on the corner of Fifth Avenue and Pine, his calloused hands gripping a fistful of yellow ribbons. The ribbons fluttered in the chilly November breeze, bright as daffodils against the gray Manhattan sky. He had been standing on this same corner every Friday evening for the past year, watching the crush of commuters spill out from the subway station, scanning each face, hoping to glimpse her unmistakable smile, the smile that used to light up his whole world. But Nadia never appeared. It had been 5 years since he last saw her, since their lives blew apart like seeds from a dandelion. 5 years of regretting his mistakes, mourning what they had lost, missing her with an intensity that took his breath away, loving her, still, with his entire shattered heart. Their story began at NYU, two bright-eyed freshmen colliding in Washington Square Park, spilling coffees, trading numbers, dreaming out loud. She wanted to write poetry, he longed to play jazz. They spent long nights debating Keats versus Eliot, Coltrane versus Davis, kissing under the arch at midnight. She was brilliant, luminous. Words poured out of her in heated seminar debates, in the margins of his music theory notes, on the slam poetry stage. Her presence was incandescent, her passion infectious. Being with Nadia made Marcus feel truly alive for the first time. They rented a tiny walk-up in Alphabet City, filling it with teetering stacks of books and the syncopated rhythms of Marcus practicing saxophone. On Sundays, they would meander through the Met, standing for long stretches in front of their favorite paintings. Van Gogh's cypresses for her, Rothko's color fields for him. Art spoke to them in a language deeper than words. Nadia's boldness emboldened Marcus. She was fearless, reading her most intimate poems to rapt audiences, submitting to literary magazines, dreaming of a life in letters. "Everything I have to say is in my poetry," she would declare, her eyes flashing. "I want to set the world on fire with my words." Marcus was in awe of her conviction, her clarity of purpose. Beside her certitude, his own musical ambitions felt unformed, aimless. While she burned bright, he felt mired in doubt and inertia, endlessly woodshedding Charlie Parker licks while she scribbled feverishly in her notebook. As graduation loomed, Nadia hatched plans for their future with determined optimism. She would pursue an MFA, he would hit the jazz clubs and cafes, honing his chops. They would build a life together steeped in art and passion, the two of them against the world. But sitting on a park bench, watching the fireflies blink to life over the great lawn, Marcus felt only panic rise in his throat. The weight of Nadia's dreams, of her love, felt suddenly suffocating. How could he ever measure up to the life she imagined for them? He was a decent saxophone player, sure, but was he really good enough to make something of himself? Was his love enough to carry them through? Fear froze him. Impulsively, unthinkingly, he bolted, mumbled something about needing space, packed a duffel bag, crashed on his buddy's couch. Let Nadia's frantic texts and voicemails go unanswered until they stopped altogether. Told himself he was setting her free to chase her dreams unencumbered. Really, he was running away from his own inadequacy, his terror of failing her. The silence between them stretched from days to weeks to months. Marcus threw himself into thankless gigs, his playing uninspired, mechanical. Sleep was a brief reprieve from the constant ache of missing her. He imagined her sitting at their rickety kitchen table, dark hair spilling over her notebook as she scribbled her heart out, waking to an empty bed, an empty life, hollowed out by his cowardice. A year slipped by, then 2, then 5. Marcus gradually built a life playing weddings, jingle sessions, the occasional jazz standard in a half-empty club. On breaks, he would scan the New Yorker, hoping to spot Nadia's name in the poetry pages. He never did, until one day there it was. Not a poem, but a profile of an up-and-coming young poet making waves in the literary scene. Nadia's fierce, beautiful face staring up at him from the glossy magazine paper. The article mentioned a reading she was giving, her first major event. Marcus knew he had to go, had to see her, even if just for a moment. Even if she wanted nothing more to do with him. He would slip in the back, let her words wash over him one last time before retreating back to his shadow of a life. The reading was held in a cramped East Village bookstore. The small room was thick with bodies and anticipation. Marcus stood wedged against the back wall as Nadia took the makeshift stage to applause and whistles. She was radiant, a bird ready to take flight. Then she began to read and the room hushed. Her words were searing, unflinching. She spoke of love and loss, betrayal and resilience, of being left and leaving, of losing and finding yourself. Her pain was transmuted into searing, soaring language that held the audience rapt. Tears streamed down Marcus's face. As the last line died away, the room exploded into applause. Nadia ducked her head, suddenly bashful, and looked up, scanning the crowd. Her eyes landed on Marcus and went wide. She looked at him for a long, charged moment, before a handler grabbed her elbow and pulled her into the throng of well-wishers. Marcus stumbled out into the night, his head spinning, his heart cracked open anew. He knew two things for certain. He still loved Nadia with every fiber of his being, and he had lost any right to that love the day he walked away. She had built a life without him, made her dreams real through her own grit and brilliance. She didn't need him anymore, but he needed her to know, needed her to understand the depths of his regret, the ocean of feeling he still carried for her. And so, the next day, he bought a spool of ribbon the color of sunshine and tied a length of it around the stop sign at the corner of 5th and Pine, outside her subway stop. He went back the next Friday and every Friday after that. No matter the weather, no matter how hopeless it seemed. He would stand with his yellow ribbons, an army of one, waiting to hand her his heart, watching the endless tide of commuters, but never catching sight of her. Until tonight, on this brittle November evening, as Marcus shivered against the fading light, she appeared. Nadia in a green wool coat, a bright scarf looped around her neck, a sheaf of papers in her hand. Walking slowly towards him, her eyes holding his breath caught in his throat. She stopped an arm's length away, close enough to touch. The air crackled between them. "You came," Marcus managed. "I got tired of wondering if I was imagining those ribbons. If it was really you. It was me. It's always been me. Nadia, She held up a hand. "I know. I read your letter. The letter. The one he had finally gathered the courage to write, to leave nestled in the ribbons last week. Pouring out his heart, his regrets, his hopes. I meant every word. I was a coward and a fool. Losing you is the biggest mistake I ever made. And I know I have no right to ask for another chance. But..." Nadia shook her head and laughed ruefully. "You really hurt me, Marcus. I was angry at you for a long, long time. Hating you was easier than hating myself for not being enough to make you stay." "No, Nadia. God, no, that was never it. I know that now. Took me a while to understand. We were just kids. You were scared. I was a lot. You weren't too much, I was too little. Too weak to believe in us. In myself." Marcus swallowed hard. "But I never stopped loving you. Never." Nadia's eyes glistened. She let out a long, shuddering breath. "I loved you too. Part of me always will. Loved. Past tense." Marcus's heart plummeted to his shoes. "But," Nadia continued softly, "a lot has changed. I've changed. My life is complicated now." "Complicated how?" Marcus asked, not entirely sure he wanted to know the answer. Nadia bit her lip, nodded at something over Marcus's shoulder. He turned to see a lanky man with wire-rimmed glasses walking towards them, a toddler hoisted on his shoulders. The little boy waved a chubby fist, a yellow ribbon clutched in his hand. "Mama!" The child crowed happily as the man set him down. He launched himself at Nadia and she scooped him up, burying her face in his duffel of curls. "Marcus," she said carefully, "this is my son Oliver, and my husband James." Marcus stood slack-jawed as James shifted his armload of manuscripts to extend a hand. "Good to meet you, Marcus. I recognize you from Nadia's old photos." You know who I am?" Marcus asked, dazed. James smiled wryly. "Hard not to. Nadia's poems aren't exactly subtle. You're the muse behind some of her best work." Nadia flushed and punched James in the arm. "Stop it. My poems aren't about Marcus." She caught Marcus's eye and shrugged. Okay, some of them may be, but they're really about me. My journey. James nodded. And it's an incredible one. I'm so proud of her. We both are, aren't we, Ollie? Aha, replied Ollie, now trying to scale Nadia like a jungle gym.
Mama za poet.
She sure is, buddy. The best in the world.
James met Marcus shell-shocked gaze.
Look, I know this is unorthodox, but I wanted to meet you. Nadia's past is part of who she is. I would never ask her to deny that. And clearly you are important to her. Nadia quirked an eyebrow. I still can't believe you're okay with this. Both of you. What did I do to deserve such understand men? Not sure I'm that understanding, Marcus mumbled. I just want you to be happy, Nadia. That's all I've ever wanted. And if James and Ollie make you happy, then... He trailed off, throat tight. Nadia shifted Ollie to her hip and took Marcus's hand. Her skin was soft and achingly familiar. They do make me happy, but you make me happy too. In a different way. Seeing you here, after all these years, it means more than I can say. She smiled tremulously. You're still my North Star, Marcus. My beacon. You make me feel seen, even from 300 miles and 5 years away. Marcus squeezed her fingers, blinking back tears. I'm so proud of you, Nadia. Of everything you've accomplished, the life you've built. I always knew you would set the world on fire. She ducked her head. I don't know about that, but I'm proud of me too. For picking myself up after you left. For daring to love again. To let someone in after I swore I never would. She looked up at James, who gazed back adoringly. And this little dude, he's my heart. Oliver grinned toothily and grabbed for a ribbon trailing from Marcus's hand. Pretty, Marcus laughed. You like these? How about you help me hang them up? He held out the ribbon and Ollie eagerly snatched them up. James set the toddler down and he began looping ribbons around the stop sign, tongue poking out in concentration. The adults regarded each other cautiously. So, Nadia began. I'm glad we ran into you, but it's getting late. Oh, right, of course. I won't keep you. An awkward pause. Maybe we could get coffee sometime? Nadia ventured. Catch up properly? With both of you. She glanced hopefully between Marcus and James. I'd like that, James said, slipping an arm around Nadia's waist. Marcus hesitated, a storm of emotions raging in his chest. Joy and grief, jealousy and relief. The woman he loved was standing in front of him, vibrant and beautiful as ever. But she wasn't his, would never be his again. Could he really sit across from her, sip lattes and reminisce, knowing she would leave on another man's arm? Then he looked at Ollie, industriously festooning ribbons, and imagined a little girl with Nadia's dark curls and fierce eyes and his own long fingers, nimble on guitar strings. The child they might have had in another life, the future he had thrown away. But here now Nadia was offering him a different future, one with her in it even peripherally, a chance to know her again, to witness the extraordinary life she was living. He would be a fool to turn it down. Coffee sounds great, he managed. It's really good to see you, Nadia. It's good to see you too, Marcus. More than good. She stepped forward and wrapped him in a tight hug. Ollie squashed between them. Marcus closed his eyes and breathed her in, something loosening in his chest. When they pulled apart, both of their faces were wet. James stepped forward and placed a comforting hand on each of their shoulders. I hate to break up this moment, he said gently, but we'll be late for dinner at your parents' place if we don't get going. Right? Nadia exhaled, wiping her eyes. Okay. She squared her shoulders. Next Friday, 3 p.m., the Hungarian pastry shop. Marcus huffed a laugh. Our old haunt. Of course. I'll be there. Nadia reached out and squeezed his hand one more time. Don't you dare stand me up this time, Marcus Walters. Never, he vowed. I'll never walk away from you again. He knelt and held out a ribbon to Ollie. Take good care of your mama for me. Okay, bud? Ollie accepted the ribbon solemnly. I will. I love mama. Marcus ruffled the boy's curls. So do I, Ollie. So do I. He straightened up and met Nadia's luminous eyes. "Until next Friday." "Until next Friday," she echoed with a wobbly smile. Marcus stood under the ribbon-strewn stop sign and watched as they walked away, Ali's piping voice carrying down the block. James said something and Nadia threw her head back, laughing, radiant with joy. Marcus felt something shift and settle deep in his bones. It wasn't the ending he had hoped for, but it was something infinitely more precious, a beginning. A second chance to have Nadia in his life, to love her in whatever form that took. He would take it and cherish it and never let her go again. Marcus ran a fingertip over a silky ribbon and smiled. Even the most hopelessly snarled threads of a life could be untangled, rewoven, as long as you never stopped believing in love's infinite possibility to begin anew. He would be back next Friday, and every Friday after that for as long as she would have him. Waiting for her, ribbons in hand, his love an offering.